Good day, everybody. It's Sunday morning. We're actually here in our favorite Sunday morning work spot in Toronto on Queen Street West. Aaron Solomon from many different places, Lawmade, Legal Dean, Jason Moyse. You can always find us on Twitter by our handles. Jason, as I drink my Nutella-infused drink this morning, what are we discussing?
Today we're going to discuss sort of the conditions out there for folks that want to start businesses in the legal services space, and whether you're in North America or you're in Europe, the conditions are sort of different from a regulatory perspective, but in some cases it might even be viewed as an impediment, but we want to talk about how those variances really don't matter and perfect conditions don't exist.
What have we done the last couple of weeks? Where have we been?
Woohoo! Been traveling. Aaron and I took the drive from Toronto to Washington, D.C. last week. It's about a 10-hour drive each way.
A little bit longer when you almost run out of gas.
It's a scene. That's how you get to see more of the world. It's a scenic way to go about traveling. We were at Georgetown University last week for what really amounted to three very different almost conferences over a course of 3 days. The first day we saw an apathon put on by some students, very much centered around access to justice. Fascinating. Day two was a day dedicated to a number of things, including the rise of legal tech and a lot of what's happening out there, whether it's in the contract management space, open source data, that sort of thing. But what we want to talk about today is sort of what was on the third day, because it just sort of, my last 10 days have been all about alternative business structures. And for those of you that don't know, in the UK and Australia, starting in about 2007, because of something called the Legal Services Act, the market was opened up for non-lawyer investment into legal businesses. And so in some cases, including the law firm Slater & Gordon, they've actually had an IPO. That's a firm in Australia. And other excellent businesses have arisen. If you look up Riverview Law, very tech forward thinking, legal services business, not necessarily a law firm, but providing a lot of legal services. And even corporate departments like BT, British Telecom, they themselves have an ABS so that they could do some other unique things with the market. So really, that's where I've been. I want to talk about what we saw at Georgetown. I was also at Stanford, and then there are some interesting things happening right here in our home province of Ontario around this issue.
You know, to me, like, these grays indicate that I graduated law school way before he did, and have been in and out of the law for a while, and it just kind of boggles my mind that there's still all this debate around alternative business structures, because I've spent years in the startup world as a serial entrepreneur, and to me, the issue is a non-issue. Because why would you not have outside ownership of law firms? Like, why would you not have outside ownership of tech firms? So to me, I kind of like reduce it, really to its core. That's at least the way that I see things, but that isn't the way the rest of the, I was gonna say the rest of the world. That's not the way a lot of people in North America see things. So Jason, why don't you kind of share some of the lay of the land on that?
Sure. I mean, it was fascinating what I saw at Georgetown on the Friday. There was an excellent panel, and there were a couple of folks on the panel, I think from the ABA, and it was interesting to sit through it. They very much are against these types of forums, and the reason that most people articulate are for being sort of against this sort of thing. There's a concern that the public interest would not be served, access to justice might be inhibited, and just in general, the only proper people to run a legal business are lawyers because of their unique specialized knowledge and training that they have. I personally don't buy any of that. It was interesting to sit on a panel that for the most part, the discussion was dominated by the folks against the issue, because I've been walking around in echo chambers, as we've talked about in the past. Those folks were taken to task at the end of their panel. I've never seen anything like it. They railed on in this forum with folks in the room. It was an international audience. The folks from DLA Piper in particular took them to task, stating the sky has not fallen inside those markets, and in fact there's been a lot more innovation driven. Contrast that with what's happening here in Ontario, we are governed by something called the Law Society of Upper Canada, which is governed by elected lawyers, about 40 of them, I believe. And this was probably the most significant election in quite some time, as there's been a lot of talk of alternative business structures, etc. Not a single candidate on that platform got elected. For my money, this topic, as much as I'm in favor of it, is dead inside my home province. And to me, that just means innovation is going to have to be driven by the market. I'm
very comfortable saying this as I'm not a member of said Law Society of Upper Canada. But the reality is, think about it, folks. If you're not from here or you are from here, it's still called the Law Society of Upper Canada. So that itself should indicate a lot to you, because you can check maps. We're not actually Upper Canada anymore.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's just a taste of what we've seen over the last 10 days or so. Certainly, this is a topic we can talk about some more and maybe break down for the folks. But for now, I think this is worth further exploration. But I'll tell you, my attention now, I've gone from the thought leadership mode. My next step is to go and do.
Exactly, and we've got a couple pieces out. So I published a piece yesterday. I went rogue and published a piece at my old home in Medium yesterday about whether or not it makes more sense to invest in a tech startup or a law firm if you are able to do so. And this morning here at our Sunday morning work session, we're actually going to go and finalize a piece on lawmade.com that we've been working on since Georgetown on this issue. And then, as Jason said, you know, what Lawmade and what we do, what we're all about is we're about doing. People sometimes describe pieces of what we do as thought leadership, and that's very wonderful. And in a good sense, it can be flattering if they like our thought leadership, but we're actually about action leadership. So enough videos, read our stuff. Have a great rest of the weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Ciao.